Hey 7th graders, we are doing some example problems from NS.1d today. So we will start with our first link, adding and subtracting negative fractions. Thing to remember here is whenever you add or subtract fractions, you must have a common denominator. Okay, so we have to figure out what's going to be the least common multiple between 3 and 4 for this problem. So I start listing the multiples of 3 and 4, 3, 6, 9, 12, 4, 8, 12. And now I can see 12 is the first number in both rows. So that's going to be our common denominator. So we can already write 12 is our denominator for both fractions. And what are we going to do to 3 to get 12? Or 3 times what is 12? 3 times 4 is 12. So we need to take the top, 8 times 4, and see what that gives us. 8 times 4 is 32. So we need to put 32 on the top there. And then on the other side, 4 times what is 12? 4 times 3 gives us 12. So we need to do 9 times 3. Whatever you do to the bottom of a fraction, you have to do the same thing on the top. 9 times 3 is 27. Now we have a common denominator. Now we can apply our rules and actually add these fractions. So we have a plus and a minus right next to each other. That's unlike. That turns into a negative or a minus. So we have 32 over 12 minus 27 over 12. 32 minus 27 is 5, and we still have our denominator of 12. Okay, this is a proper fraction. There's nothing we can reduce. There's nothing that goes into 5 and 12. So our answer would just be 5/12. We'll plug that in. And it's correct. Good. Let's try another one. Clear the ink. Okay, we have -1/4 minus -3/5. Again, we need a common denominator. So we'll start listing multiples of 4 and 5. 4, then 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 5. Go by 5s. We have 5, 10, 15, 20. And I can stop there because I see 20 is the first one that's in both rows. That is multiple for both of our denominators. So again, we already know our denominator is going to be 20, so we can write that in. Now we have to figure out what our numerators are. So I have to think 4 times what gives me 20? 4 times 5 gives me 20. So what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. I need to take 1 times 5. 1 times 5 is 5. Then on the other side, 5 times what is 20? Well, 5 times 4 is 20, so what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay? Now I can apply my rules and simplify these. So first I see 2 signs right next to each other. They are like, so that becomes a positive. So it becomes -5/20 plus 12 over 20. Now I can see I have a negative and a positive. Those are unlike, so I would subtract. So on the side I'll do 12 minus 5, which is 7. I get 7 over 20. And then I keep the sign of the bigger number. 12 is the bigger number and it's positive, so the sign of my answer needs to be positive. There's nothing I can reduce here, Nothing goes into 7 and 20, so that would be my answer in simplest form. So I plug in 7 over 20, check it, I got it right. Okay, let's try one more. Okay, we have 12 elevenths minus a negative 2/3. So again, common denominator. Start listing multiples. 11s, we go 11, 22, 33, 44, and so on. 3s, we go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33. And now I can see 33 is the first one they have in common. So that's going to be our common denominator. All right, so I can rewrite my fractions with 33 on the bottom because I know that's what my common denominator is. Now I have to think 11 times what gives me 33, and that would be times 3. 11 times 3 is 33. So what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 12 times 3. 12 times 3 is 36, so that's my numerator. And I do the same thing with the 3. 3 times what is 33? Well, that would be times 11. So what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top again. Be 2 times 11, which is 22. And I have to make sure I have my negative in front right there. Almost missed that. I have to make sure we copy those very carefully, have all our negatives in there. Then I look here, I say I have 2 negatives right next to each other, 2 like signs. Tells me that becomes a positive. So 36 over 33 plus 22 over 33. Add those together. 36 plus 22 is going to give me 58. So I have 58 over 33. All right, now that is an improper fraction, and I cannot answer as an improper. It says my answers need to be proper fractions. So I need to do some division. I need to figure out how many times does 33 go into 58 evenly. Okay, so I could divide. I could do 58 divided by 33, and I know that goes in there once, because if 33 times 2 would be 66, that's too big. So it goes in there once, then I subtract. 8 minus 3 is 5, 5 minus 3 is 2, so that means I have 25 left over. It goes in there once, there's 25 left over out of 33, so that would be 1 and 25 33rds. Okay, and that would be reduced. It would stay positive because they're both positive. So I plug in my answer, 1 and 25 over 33. Check it, I got it right. Okay. Let's go on to the next one then. Okay, we have negative number addition and subtraction, word problems. It says the table below shows all of Andy's bank account activities since she opened her bank account. We see that she deposited a check from her grandma, she had a payment to the movie theater, withdrawal, and then a bank overdraft fee. What is Andy's current bank account balance? Okay, so basically we just need to combine these numbers all together by adding or subtracting. So we could go 2 at a time and combine them, or we could first look at all of our negative numbers and put those together because we know they're going to be negative, and then we could add that to our positive number. So if we just add all these negative numbers together, we have 0, 5, 5 and 2 make 7, 4 and 2 make 6. That means we have $67.50 negative. We have to keep the negative with it. Now we can combine that with our 25. So I'm going to write it horizontally because that's typically how we've seen it. So we have 25 minus 67.5. Now we can use our rules. 25 is positive because there's no negative sign in front of it. 67.5 is negative because of this sign right here. So they are unlike. So we would subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So on the side here, let's subtract minus 25. 7 minus 5 is 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. We get 4250. The sign of the bigger number is negative, so it's going to be a negative 4250. So her bank account is in the hole, as they say. It's negative. Plug that in, see if we're right. And we are. Good. Let's try another one. This one says, Milk and Cookies is an ice cream sandwich stand. Use the following bar chart to find Milk and Cookies' total profit from July through September. Okay, so this blue bar above the line represents a positive 2 because it goes up to 2. That blue bar is also a positive 2. This one goes down to negative 5, all the way down. So we need to combine those. We can put the two positive numbers together. 2 and 2 is 4. Now we have 4 and negative 5. And we can write that as 4 minus 5, and then use our rules. 4 is positive because there's no negative sign. 5 is negative because of the negative sign. So they are unlike. So we would subtract again and keep the sign of the bigger number. 5 is a bigger number, it's negative, so we would end up with a negative 1. Put that in, see if we're right, and we're right. Good job. All right, next one. Again, we have Milk and Cookies stand again. Oh no, I didn't hit the button yet. Okay, the next one. Issa's bank account balance at the beginning of June was $42. The table below shows all of her account activity during June. Okay, so there's 2 negative numbers and 1 positive number. So again, we can combine the positive numbers, combine the negative numbers, and then subtract. So we have 20 and 42. If we add those together, we get 62. And then we have 5950 and 5. If we put those together, notice I'm adding even though they're negative because their signs are like. So we add and keep the original sign. That would be 6450, and that's going to be negative. And now we can subtract those. I can write 62 minus 6450. Again, we have a positive and a negative. They're unlike, so we subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. 6450 minus 62 gives us 250. The bigger number is negative, so it's going to be a negative 250. So his account is also negative. I think these people need to learn how to manage their money a little bit better. Don't want to go negative. Okay? Good. Next link. Okay, this is interpreting negative number statements. Says, I'm going to close that for now. Determine whether the following problems can be solved using the expression -2 minus 5. So the temperature was -2 degrees in the morning. The temperature has fallen 5 degrees since the morning. What is the current temperature? I'm going to draw a number line. And it said it was -2 in the morning. The temperature has fallen. So would that be a positive number or a negative number? Well, temperature falling is going down, so that would be a negative number. So we're going to go to the left 5 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the current temperature? Current temperature is -7. Okay? So can I use this expression to get -7? Well, let's figure out what number that expression gives us to begin with. -2 minus 5. We apply our rules. We see 2 negatives, so we see like signs. That means we have to add and keep the original sign. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Original sign is negative. We want to get -7. And this problem gave us -7. So can -2 minus 5 be used? Yes, it can, because it gave us the right answer. Okay, problem 2. Alex decreased the temperature in her car by 2 degrees Celsius. She was still warm, so she decreased the temperature by another 5 degrees Celsius. What was the total change in temperature in Alex's car after these 2 adjustments? Okay, so we don't know where she started, but we know that she decreased and she decreased. So let's say it was 70 degrees in her car. First she went down 2 degrees, and then she went down 5 more. Now I know my number line isn't quite accurate. That's okay, I'm just using it as a visual to help me see what's going on. So what was the total change in temperature? Well, I can see the total change was that it went down 7, which would be a -7 because it's going to the left. So could this also be used? Yes, it could, because this problem is also giving us -7. So both of them work. Good. All right, 4th. Okay, we need to evaluate. We need to figure out what this answer is when y is 8. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite that, plugging in 8 in place of y. Notice I kept the negative that was in front of it. Okay, because it's just in place of the actual letter y, I'm putting an 8. So the only thing I'm replacing is that letter, not the negative in front of it. Now I'm going to use my rules, do some simplifying. First I see those 2, and I see those 2. Okay, these are unlike, so hopefully we know those become a negative. These are like, and they become positive. Now I see something kind of cool here. I see a -8 and a +8. Which is going to equal 0. Those are additive inverses. Going to equal 0. All that I'm left with is 1. So my answer is 1. Good. Next one. Okay, this time we have 2 letters to replace. So I'm going to rewrite it again. In place of A, I'm going to put 6. So I have -6. In place of B, I'm going to put a 3. So I'm going to add a -3. I need to keep the negative that's in front of that B yet before when I substitute. All right there I see unlike signs that are right next to each other. So hopefully we know that turns into a negative. So it becomes -6 minus 3. Now I have like signs. When I have like signs, I add and keep the original sign. 6 plus 3 is 9. The original sign is negative. So it becomes a -9. That's good.
What's up?
Hi.
Yeah. Oh,
Except you just broke the phone.
Yeah, there's a crack across the entire thing.
No, there's not.
No, there's a crack.
You'd be in big trouble.
Christian, there's a crack across the entire thing. That
Can we be in the
Parker made.
video?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, can we be on YouTube?
Sure. What are you gonna do? All right. It says we have to put these in order: least value, greatest value, closest to 0. Okay, so first we have to figure out what these things are. N minus Q. N, we can round these, approximate these. We can say N is -2. It's pretty close to -2. Q, we'll say, is 0. So N minus Q, -2 minus 0, is just going to give me -2. Q is 0. Q minus N, so 0 minus a -2. Right here, those two negatives become a positive, so 0 plus 2, so it'd be a +2. Okay, so the least value would be the first one, because it's the smallest, it's negative. The greatest value, we'd actually have to put that up there, the +2, closest to 0 would be Q, because we actually said Q was 0. Okay, and let's check, and we got it right. Good. So the nice thing about these problems is we can approximate. We don't have to say it's -1.8 or something. We can just round it to the closest whole number. Okay? Same thing here. We have to say what's greater than or less than. In order to do that, we have to figure out what the absolute value of A minus B is, and what the absolute value of A minus the absolute value of B is. So A minus B, let's say A is 0. It's a little bit less than half, so we'll say 0. B is -1. So 0 minus -1, absolute value. Right here we have two signs that are the same. So it becomes a positive. 0 plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is just 1. Okay, so the left side is 1. On the other side, absolute value of 0 is 0 minus the absolute value of -1. So the absolute value of that -1 makes it a +1. But I still have this subtraction or this negative out front, so I still have to carry that down. So 0 minus 1 is going to give me a -1. So now it's obvious that the absolute value of A minus B is greater than the right side. Good. Oh, maybe I should do one more. Okay, one more. We have vertical number line. Again, we need least value, greatest value, closest to 0. Okay, so y is really close to 1. We'll say it's 1. X is really close to 2. So we'll say it's 2. We need to do x minus y, or 2 minus 1, which is just 1. X plus y, 2 plus 1 is 3. Negative x, so it's going to be a -2. Just put a negative in front of that 2. So what's the least value? Would be the -2. So that one has to go up there. The greatest value would be the x plus y. Has to go there. And then the least value, or the closest to 0, would be 1, which was the x minus y.